Not just the Senate, now it's the House, too. 14 members of the House urging the State Department to come clean about all the facts surrounding the questionable funding of the nonprofit behind the anti-Netanyahu campaign. And Congressman Mark Meadows joins us. Good evening, sir.
It's good to be back with you, Greta.
Nice to have you back. So what's the investigation?
Well, really, it's unprecedented. If indeed $350,000, like has been reported, is being used on behalf of Jeremy Byrd, who was actually a national field director for Obama and Organizing for America, you know, the ties are so close that why would we, as Americans, be trying to influence a democracy, an ally in the Middle East, the only real democracy in the Middle East? Why would we be trying to influence the election there with American taxpayer dollars?
All right, here's one thing that I don't understand is that I have a copy of a letter here dated January 29th of this year from the House of Representatives. It, in fact, is signed by Congressman Lee Zeldin and Senator Ted Cruz, Senator, asking on January 29th for information about, we are now on March 16th. Tomorrow begins the election, which actually is with the time changes in a few hours of Israel. Why in the world, it went to Secretary of State John Kerry. Why aren't the answers there now? Why are these being asked tonight?
Well, we see this a lot with the administration. They defer those answers to the real questions from Congress in hopes that perhaps the election takes place without really this coming to light.
Doesn't that bother you? I mean, you know what, to me, it's like, if this, I mean, like, this discussion on January 29th, and if Netanyahu, Prime Minister, has been sort of seething over the weekend about as more information unrolls, I don't know if it really is legitimate or not, but we have the question now on the eve of it. And the State Department, Secretary Kerry had the question, January 29th, could have cleared it up.
Well, he could have cleared it up, and really the silence is what makes the message that much more powerful. If indeed he wanted to deny it, he could have done that in plenty of time before tonight on the eve of the election. And really, we've got the Prime Minister who has come here to be a voice for the Israeli people, and tremendous bipartisan support. They don't have a vote in this Iran deal, but yet they had a voice.
All right, so the two questions that I have with this, number one is whether it would be illegal or not for any money to come from the State Department to a nonprofit to work on the ground to be this. I mean, there's one issue whether it's legal or illegal. The other is whether we should be doing it to an ally and a democracy.
Well, the legality of that, certainly that's part of what an investigation would have to look at. Was it legal? Was it not legal? But when you have American taxpayer dollars influencing election, I think the answer to the second question is the American people shouldn't stand for it. I can tell you that there are a number of us in Congress who won't stand for it.
Has this ever happened in reverse? Has anyone in Israel, do we have any information that the Israeli government has ever been on the ground here trying to impact our election one way or the other?
Well, I mean, when elections cost billions of dollars now, not just millions, I have no knowledge of that. Really, I talked to Chairman Chaffetz just a few minutes ago, and he said he believes that this is unprecedented, and we need to get to the bottom of it.
Is this, I mean, is it bipartisan, or is it, because look, if it's just one party, you know, everyone's going to be squawking about it.
You know, it's got to be bipartisan, and I would say our support for Israel is indeed bipartisan. So I'm hopeful that some of my Democrat colleagues will come along. I believe they will, and that we'll be able to get to the bottom of it.
Are you watching this election? I mean, this election tomorrow, well, actually in a couple hours with the time change, is unbelievably important. I mean, it is going to change. It's critical. It's going to change the direction of lots of things, whether it stays or whether Prime Minister Netanyahu stays or whether he goes.
Well, we're following it very closely because, indeed, a clear voice for peace and prosperity that the current Prime Minister has been needs to continue on, and so that's my weighing in on this particular election.
You know, it's hard without being on the ground knowing to what extent, and security, I suppose, is the big issue for Prime Minister Netanyahu. His opponent Herzog seems to be more the economy, and it's sort of hard to have sort of a sense, you know, thousands of miles away, you know, whether this little itty-bitty country is more worried about security tonight or whether they're worried about putting, you know, the economy putting food on the table.
Well, I've been in those terror tunnels that came from the Gaza Strip into Israel, personally been in those, and I can tell you that I would be worried about it if they were coming into my neighborhood, and so truly it's something that needs to be addressed.
Well, it's just hours away. We're going to get the answer whether Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to have for an unprecedented fourth term as Prime Minister. So not just Israel's watching it, we're watching it, the whole world's watching this one.
Thank you, Greta.
Anyway,
thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. And today